Hey, so my wife Dina and I discovered that we were pregnant about a month ago. We have been married for 3 years, we're both 28 and we intend on going through with the pregnancy. Dina and I went to high school together but didn't get together until much later. We were friends in high school but she moved away for college and that's where she met her first husband Alex. They got married right after they graduated, when she was around 22 and stayed together for a year before going their separate ways. I'll come to the reason later. Dina and I drifted apart after high school but we reconnected when she moved back here right after the divorce. A common friend of ours invited her to a Thanksgiving dinner several years ago and that's where we met again for the first time after high school. We got to talking that day and I ended up asking her out but she told me that she had just had a really bad divorce and was not looking to date yet but she would gladly be friends with me again. I was content with that and so we exchanged numbers and started talking to each other more often. We became really good friends in the span of a year and after a while, she was the one who asked me out. I said yes because I liked her and I could see a future with her. After dating for a couple of years, we decided to get married. And now, we have been together for almost 4 years and married for 2. When we found out that we were pregnant, she and I were both thrilled. So far our relationship had been really dreamy and beautiful. We had fights like every other couple does but we would always make up within hours and there would never be huge fights, just minor and insignificant disagreements. But our first big fight happened when we started discussing baby names. It has just been a month but Dina has been really excited and started discussing baby names as soon as we found out that she was pregnant. She seemed pretty insistent about the name Philip if it was a boy. It was a nice name and I didn't have a problem with it mostly because right now we were just spitballing and we could always change our minds later. Unfortunately, we hit a snag as soon as we announced the pregnancy to our friends. About 2 weeks ago, we decided to host a dinner for a couple of our friends so we could tell them about the pregnancy. Our families already knew and we had celebrated this whole thing with them. But that was kind of a family-only event and our friends were still in the dark. So we decided to have a separate dinner for them. They were all really happy for us too. Then Dina started talking about baby names at some point while we were having dinner. When she mentioned that she was thinking about naming the baby Philip if it was a boy, I noticed that her best friend Wendy seemed a little shocked but didn't say anything. I didn't think much of it but after dinner, she told me that she was going out for a smoke but she had forgotten her lighter and asked me if I could lend her mine. Dina doesn't like smoking so she told the both of us to go out into the backyard and do whatever we had to do. Even up until then, everything was going fine but as soon as she and I were out of earshot, she told me that she had something very important to discuss with me and started speaking in a really quiet voice. At first, I thought she was going to hit on me and was horrified but instead, she said something way worse. Apparently, Philip was the name that Dina had decided on during her first pregnancy when she was still with Alex. Wendy started off by saying that you probably already know this but I had no idea about any of it and everything that she told me was brand new information for me. She told me that Alex and Dina had separated after she lost her baby in her 5th month and Alex started cheating on her because he was grief-stricken. She and Wendy have been friends ever since they were kids so she knew everything and she also knew that Dina and Alex wanted to name their baby boy Philip. But unfortunately, after Dina lost the baby, both of them started fighting almost every day and Alex ended up cheating on her with another woman from work. He was the one who confessed to her after a few weeks of his affair and then, they got divorced. I had never heard this version of what happened back then until Wendy told me and this is not something that people discuss anyway so I couldn't exactly find out the truth from other sources. Dina had told me that she and Alex got divorced because they were fighting a lot since they were just incompatible. They got married young and it was a mistake. That's the version that I heard from her and believed, until very recently. It never even occurred to me that she might not be telling me the truth because why would she want to lie to me about something like this? I wouldn't judge her regardless of which version she told me and also it wasn't like she came off looking bad in the true story, so I couldn't imagine why she would want to keep that a secret from me. Anyway, Wendy told me that she had a feeling that I didn't know that it was the name that she had picked out with Alex and felt like it was a duty to tell me about it even though she was Dina's best friend. I thanked her for telling me about the context of the name but she had no idea that she had told me a lot more than just the story behind the name. I tried my best to keep calm and stay composed for as long as our friends were in the house but as soon as they left, I confronted Dina about what Wendy had told me. She instantly denied everything and told me that Wendy must have been joking but I ended up taking it seriously. But I knew what a joke was and Wendy was most certainly not joking. So I kept insisting that she tell me the truth and she finally confessed that whatever Wendy had told me was true and she and Alex had separated because he had been cheating on her after she lost her baby. Everybody in her family knew about it and so did a few of her friends. She hadn't really stayed in touch with any of her friends from here when she was with Alex apart from Wendy so most people here have no idea about her pregnancy or the loss of her baby since she didn't post any of it on social media. She planned on announcing it around her 6th month but sadly, she never got there. She told me that she had left Alex and all her friends behind and had come back here because staying there was too painful. Wendy had known everything all along and she had assumed that once we started dating, I would get to know her too. But given the sensitive nature of the topic, it never came up and I never found out the truth until that day. Her family knew but they had been told not to share it with me because she didn't want me to know about this. She said that it was really personal and it was a very traumatic experience for her, which is why she never wanted to talk about it again. But as much as I wanted to drop the topic and never bring it up again for her sake, I couldn't do that because I still needed answers. I told her that I respected the fact that she was traumatized from what had happened back then, but I still needed to talk about this and get to the bottom of certain things that I still didn't understand. I couldn't figure out why she hadn't told me the truth even after we got married, because I felt like this was something really huge and I should have been kept in the loop about it. And more importantly, she was planning on naming our baby a name that she had picked out with her cheating ex-husband. That seemed kind of weird and I wanted to talk about why she was so inclined towards that name. Going by her logic, if she had abandoned everything in her past, including Alex and all her friends, because it was too traumatic for her to relieve, then shouldn't she have left that name behind in the past as well? It just didn't add up. I was trying to talk to her but she just kept ignoring me and scrolling through Instagram on her phone. So I got kind of annoyed and told her that she needed to talk to me because she owed me the truth. She snapped at me when I said that and started yelling at me, saying that now that I already knew the truth, she owed me absolutely nothing. She then said that I was being a jealous and insecure narcissist and forcing her to talk about things that she wanted to forget because of how traumatic it was for her. I apologized instantly, but I also mentioned that even if we didn't talk about it right then, we had to get everything out in the open at some point. Because at that moment, I was feeling betrayed and hurt and it was like she didn't even care about my feelings. But she told me that she never wanted to talk about this again, and then the fight got even worse. We had been fighting for almost half an hour when she finally gave up and said that she couldn't do this anymore and started packing her things. She told me that she was going to go live with her parents for a while until she calmed down and suggested that I think about my own behavior with a cooler head and get back to her when I am ready to act like a grown-up instead of a little boy. I was very tired of fighting with her, so I let her go and I didn't stop her.